All right, so officially welcome everyone to today's training and our 3 days intensive training on DAX Power BI. So the final day, we are all going to either revisit the MCQs we were given, or we are going to tackle something different. But we are going to use the same concept, understanding, to do that project all together, right? So those that we are behind and those who already have the technical ability can all at least do something together. So today we have Mr. Peter in our midst as a PA learner, like we all, right? And Ghana, but Ghana will join us later. I think he's trapped with something. So Mr. Mapuchi is just a learner with us if you don't know him. And first I'm meeting him, and he has upper hand on the DAX function, DAX and Power BI, right? And I believe many of us that have joined also do. So he's going to walk us through. And before then, please, he is not the best among us, right? But he's going to volunteer to help us. So if you are with us and think you can add something to what he's going to walk us through, please, you can either raise your hand or maybe seek his consent and add something to whatever he's going to present, right? So please, everybody is free to talk. It's partly open discussion and training as well, right? So Mr. Mopuchi, please, I welcome you to this Agnes house. You can take the floor.
All right, thank you, sir. Very grateful for the privilege to co-learn with my fellow colleagues, because I think what we are doing today, I don't know if my voice is clear, if you guys can hear me.
Everybody, the queen.
I don't know if you guys can hear me.
We can hear you.
Can we? Okay, that's good. So it's a privilege anyway. So we just move together. We are all learning together. I'm equally a learner, and I don't see myself as the best. I don't think I am even. So we just walk through together. So basically, DAX, we all know, data analytics expression. In my own, there's noise on the background.
Those who have
can we kindly mute so that?
All right, yeah, please, you can take the floor there.
All right. So basically, data analytics expression, that's a DAX. Personally, in my own point of view, first of all, I consider it as an upgrade of Excel, and more or less like a confluence or a meeting point where Excel and SQL meets to give us business intelligence. Okay. That is my own definition of Power BI, a confluence where Excel and SQL meets to give us business intelligence. That is my personal, that is how I've decided to define, what do they call it? To define DAX. So I'll be sharing my screen so that we look briefly at the interface, and then we'll just try some of the basic expression, like the addition, the subtraction, the division, using of the measures, the difference between a measure and a column, and then when you are doing summing with a column, how it goes, when you are doing anything with a measure, how it goes. So I think that should give us the foundation for which we can proceed, because if you look at the projects we've done so far, apart from understanding how to do your graph, your graph or your chart, the critical thing you should know is how to calculate your calculated columns and your measure, right? They are two separate things. If you remember, when we started, the first two projects were just on graphs, using already existing data to do graphs. So that is one aspect of Power BI. And then we have the DAX itself, which is another aspect of Power BI. So the DAX itself is what we are coming to focus on. And then anything about the graph and other things, we can put our heads together. And then, because there's not a one-size-fits-all situation. If you look at our last project, you realize that we were given the flexibility to choose, in some cases, the kind of graphs we want to use to display certain situations, right? We had that flexibility. So, but one thing that was fact and was key was that the DAX formulas and that's a calculated columns, and then the measure were constant throughout, such that if you are getting a budget amount of, say, 151,000, everybody should get the same amount. Because mathematics, if that is +1 or -1, you should be arriving at the same point. Okay, so without saying so much, I'll want to let me share my screen. So please, you have to allow me access to share my screen.
All right, you can. It's done. So.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see my screen.
Oh yes, please, we can. Oh wow, very fantastic.
Okay, so basically this was my project 3, and this was how I chose to do my my dashboard. So I'll just wipe away everything.
I can't see the screen.
You can't see my screen.
I can't see the screen. No, it's black. It's blank.
My screen is blank.
No, it is not. It's not blank.
Of course, cannot.
No,
It's visible.
it's visible.
Yeah, it's visible. We can see it.
Yes, I can see now. I can see now.
Okay, that's good. So this was how I chose to do my what did they call it? My project 3, and I mean, so but I'm just going to wipe off the screen so that we can have something to work with. So that we just maintain the data. So let me create a new file. Okay, so now we have everything. So let me just okay, let me just use a new slide. Anything we need to refer to, we can easily refer to them, those stuffs. All right. So basically, we know this is the general interface, the report and co. But usually, when working with DAX, this is where we do it at the table view. When working with DAX, at some point in time, you might have to come to the model view to check relationships between tables you are trying to compute DAX for. I don't know whether I get what I'm saying. Let me just put you through that before you. Now, you see all these tables are sort of that's the star whatever. The star oh, I forgot the name. So anyway, it come to mind again. Now, so all these tables are interconnected, and DAX also work with this this whole connection.
So someone is saying
yes,
schema.
Yes, the schema. Yeah, you know that for the star schema, exactly, the star schema.
Yeah. Got it. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, bless you.
Yes, thanks for reminding me. So with that, it also works with the star schema, because if there are no connections between two tables, you can't. There are some DAX computation that you will struggle to do, because you can't. There's no relationship between, especially when you are using the function related function in DAX. If you've noticed, there's a function called related in related table, especially when you are getting something from you are on a particular table and you want to get something from another table. There should be some relationship between those two tables, for which you can use the related table as the parameter to make that argument. So we'll go to. I believe. Please. I hope I'm not. I'm not going too fast or confusing you.
2 minutes.
Cool. Okay. All right.
Please, if anyone has issue, please jump in and let us know. Right.
Yes, please. So that we need to learn together. Yes. Oh, it's okay. So now, let me start from home. I believe you saw how I got here. That's through my table view. I came to this point. So under the table view, you have your table tools. You have home, help, and table tools. Now, if you want to calculate or work on a table, then you come to new table. Or if you want to work on a column in a table, then you come to new column, right? However, if you want to calculate a measure, I don't know that are we all okay with the difference between a table and a measure, or I should let me go through.
Yes, please, please.
Should I go
yeah,
through?
please let's go through so we can all get it clear.
And that's great. All right. So now, right in front of on my screen, I have this small table called infrastructure cost table that has 3 columns, right? Now, if I want to add a column to it, all I need to do is to use this function, new column, and then it gives me, as it's loading, then you see a column by the side. Mind you, once we are having a column, if you don't give the column a name, it disappears. If you don't give the column a name, it disappears. If I choose not to give it a name, I press enter. I think it's
no. Click
my machine is a bit slow.
Okay, you can click on the
my machine is a bit slow.
Okay.
There's a lot of pressure on it, so
all right.
That's why.
Okay.
Normally, you're supposed to have the once you take it off, it goes off. But my machine is a bit slow. That's why it's still hanging on.
All right.
All right, so now I'm getting back to it. All right, so now a calculated column, let me use it right, a calculated column, right, is a column that is derived from already existing column. A calculated column is a column that is derived from an existing column. And when you get a derived column, which is now referred to as a calculated column, it has a sign that comes with it that tells you that this is not just a normal column, it is a calculated one. For example, we have unit costs and we have rural adjustment cost. Now, if I want to get the urban cost, it should be unit cost minus rural adjustment. Let me just assume I want to get the other cost component, right? So it should be unit cost or added the adjustment. If I want to get the adjustment on the actual on the cost, that should give us what do you call it? Unit cost. That's unit cost USD minus rural adjustment cost, right? So if I want to do that, first thing is to give it a name. So I simply say adjustment equal to. Now, I put an inverted comma here at the top. This tells you that you're trying to figure out which table you want to do this calculation from, or which table you want to pick your column from. Now, we are working on infrastructure cost, so I select infrastructure cost, and then add the column I'm interested in. So adjust the rural adjustment first. Oh, shit. Yes, it gave me an error. So first of all, now minus the normal mathematics, it works. Minus. So your table again, infrastructure cost. and then the column you are interested in. And then when you press enter, it gives you the adjustment. Are we together?
Yes, please. We are with you.
So this adjustment, this value you get, if you observe on this side, you see that there is a symbol or a sign by the name adjustment. This tells you that it is a calculated column. The original table, the original, what do they call it? Column, improvement, does not have the sign because it was not calculated. It was imputed. This is an imputed column.
Okay.
Right. Now, the unit cost USD is also an imputed column. But the rural adjustment cost is a calculated column. And you can continue to do more calculation on calculated columns. That's why we're able to calculate with the rural adjustment cost and the unit cost USD to get the adjustment. That is how a calculated column works. And a calculated column works row-wise. Please take note. A calculated column works row-wise. For example, what am I trying to say? 8,500 plus or minus 12,500, say 12,750 gives us 4,250. The same way it goes, it does the calculation row-wise to give you a single column. Please, am I clear on this?
Yes, please. Yeah, very
Are you guys clear on this?
Yes, please.
Now, this, if you have a question, please, you can feel free to stop me so that you can ask. Now, this is a bit different from a calculated measure. Measures are always calculated, so it will sound like a tautology to you to say it's a calculated measure. So
No.
it will so basically this is a little bit different from a measure. Now, one thing we will note about a calculated column is a calculated column is space consuming. Is somebody trying to say something?
No, continue. Continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So a calculated column, right, consumes because it leaves excess of its data on the table. And you know, the more data we generate, the more memory it consumes. This one is with data everywhere. If the more text you write, the more bytes and kilobytes you generate from every single text you write. So from every single value that is generated from a calculated column or through a DAX that gives us a calculated column, we have memory consumption. So if we are doing this for thousands of rows, definitely it will consume more. So more space, and this will also slow down your Power BI, especially when you are trying to load it and other stuff. So that is it. Now, when it comes to a measure, now let me move to a measure. I believe we are good with the calculated columns.
Yes.
Are we good with the calculated columns?
For me, I'm fine. So if anybody has a question, you can let us know.
If anybody has an issue, if I don't hear anything, it means that everybody is clear.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Now, before I move to...
No, please, Emmanuel has a question.
Okay.
Yeah, please, you can ask.
Oh, okay. I wanted to find out if it looks like with the calculated column, it's only the basic operations that we are using.
Like can you help me with the detail? Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it looks like with the. Yeah, it looks like with the column, I can see only what's the name? Basic calculations like subtraction, addition. But can we use?
Yes. Somebody talking about.
Yes,
please, you can go ahead. Say that there is noise. There is noise in the background.
Yeah. I've muted his mic, so.
Okay.
Manuel, you can take.
Oh, okay.
You can ask your question.
Okay, so as I was saying, with the column calculation,
Okay.
can we have a situation where it's not going to be like either subtraction, addition, but a function itself? Like we will have
Yes,
the related function or something.
yes, you can have a function provided that the function have the necessary variables. For example, now let me now speak mathematics. Assuming that infrastructure cost, rural adjustment cost is X, right? Just assume it is X, and then infrastructure cost unit cost USD is Y, right? Even if you want to do your change of subject formula, you have your X and your Y. Okay, assuming we have, okay, because change of subject, we have A, B, and C, if I'm not mistaken. So if you have your variables or your columns independently, you can do any complex calculation so long as it falls within the ambit of the capacity of
Mr. Mampucci, I think I have something to add, right? Sir, okay. I think your question is pretty clear, that needs to be attended to, right? But I would plead on behalf of maybe peers like me that do not even get anything at all, right? So maybe we can start from the basic, at least the basic function, and to understand why and when to create a measure, why and when to create a column, right? It would at least establish your foundation of understanding that or working with that, not only on MCQs, right, but to exploit or practice anywhere. So we are only starting with the basic functions, the additions, the subtraction, right, the division. Then we come to the functions, right, where we are going to use the sum. No, the sum and the calculate, there's even an issue with it, right? So we can break it down, why and when to use this, how and why behind this, right? So at least with this 3 days space, we can do a lot, right? So those who already have the foundation and those who are now getting the foundation, at least by the 3 days, we can boldly say that with our training, we started from here to this far, right? So maybe later, if we have anything to address, then we know that, okay, we even have videos on this section, that section, right? So at least it's like we can get a solid training for everyone that joined. So please, if maybe greater majority of us have the basis, right, then we can upgrade to our brother's question. But if some of us are lacking, say, then I will plead that we should all cope, right, with the basis, then we migrate small.
Okay. What I want to persuade is anybody who is lacking should quickly prompt us, because that's why we are here.
Yes, please.
Do you understand? Because the focus is to address the understanding and build from there so that we can have we can take root in the application of DAX in anything we are doing.
Yes, please.
Understand? So I'll just proceed. All right. So based on the question he asked, it's a question that could be in the mind of so many people who are here, right? Because I think most often than not, to explain things, we just use a very simple one, but not not balancing the explanation for people to understand that it could be, in fact, this thing as simple as it looks, it could get extremely complex. Right. So, and if you look at Power BI very well, if you look at this space that we have here, we have so much that you can calculate. You see, I don't know if you've seen how I've brought my cursor down to up to number 58, and it can go beyond to tell you that you have enough room to do any complex calculation you want to do. Any complex calculation you want to do. Okay, now let me quickly take us. I just want to show him something, and then we'll proceed. Let me see if I have my project 4. Okay, I have part of my project 4 here. There's this calculation that we did on Let me see. Where is that thing? I get an improvement. Is that it? No. Just want to show you something. This. Yeah. Where is it? Yeah. There was this calculation we had to do, where we had a lot of improvements. Okay, water source, let me see. So, okay, good. Look at this calculation, this whole thing. This whole thing you see here. This whole thing you see here is a measure, but could be done as a table. If you recall, in our previous, I think in project 3, this thing was done as a table. This thing was done as a table. So it could be very, very complex. You can see the sum, the plus and minus thing we did. This is the sum here. This is it here, sitting down here. So but let's get back to what we're doing. That's for the learning, for the purpose of learning. All right. Now, moving away from this, let's have a touch of the measures. Now, with regards to a measure, let me get back to home. Okay, so we have it. If you want to get to your measure, you can go to home and then you can see a quick measure here, a new measure or a quick measure. Now, same way, you can right click on the, what do they call it? On any of the tables or columns, you can see new measure and new column. And let me explain something to you with regards to this measure. Any table you click, you create your measure in, you will not see the measure as a column, but it will be sitting under that table. By all means, it must have a place to rest. So if you create your measure in infrastructure cost, and the measure was supposed to calculate something in project progress, you will do yourself harm when both variables you are working on, all the columns you need to work on are in project progress, and then you are doing it in as infrastructure cost. It means that you have to start calling in those related functions. So to save yourself, when you know that the measure you want to calculate is the columns you need are more of it are in a particular table, it's wise, or it's a wise counsel for you to create your measure in that table. Okay, let's get into the measure. So see, I want to create a new measure. So and the measure is here. That's for infrastructure, within infrastructure cost. What I want is the summation of rural adjustment cost. So I come to measure. The measure operates just almost like the calculated column, almost like the calculated column. So what I want to do is I want to get a figure which should give me the summation of adjustments. I want to get a figure which gives me sum of So in doing this, since we have seen a column, who can help us with how we can get it sorted out using the measure? Can anybody help us? Huh? Please, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, you can.
Any suggestion? I want it to be participatory so that we can all.
Yeah, we can all hear. Yeah.
So we use the sum function.
Okay. So sum. Good practice to use capital letter. Okay, so sum, what are we saying? So we are looking at improvement, right? Oh, why did this have adjustment? Is that it? Is that it?
Yes, it is.
Yes, I. That's all. All right. So it's like for your measure work. Let me see whether it worked. This is it here. So now you can see the difference. There's a difference between the measure, the symbol for the measure, and the symbol for the calculated column. You see, the calculated column has a summation sign attached to the box. And then the measure has a calculator. The measure has a calculator. I don't know if you guys can. You guys are observing it.
Yes, please. It's pretty visible.
It's very important to note.
Yes, please.
There are times where you have large chunks of tables, and then you have a combination of all these things. So if you're not careful, you'll be looking for a measure from a column or from a table, thinking that it's sitting there. You never find it. So the easiest way to check if the measure is really working is just to put it in a card or maybe a graph. So that's what we are used to, putting it in a card. So I'll just get a card and then put the measure inside and let's see whether it works. So it works.
Oh, wow. That's pretty fantastic. All right. So I think each and every one, it's very important to be able to identify which is a measure and which is a calculated column, right? So in case maybe a colleague has given you a large data set with either a measure or a column, right? So you can identify that, okay, this is my measure I calculated, this is a column I calculated, right? So please let's identify them with the symbols, these symbols or logos or something like that.
Yeah, let me just chip in something.
All right.
Look at, just imagine the analogy behind what they have done. You see, they have used a calculator.
Yeah.
And usually, no matter what you do with a calculator, you only get the final output.
Yeah.
So that is why it's a measure. That's how that then the icon they have used for a measure defines it.
Okay.
And then to add up.
Yeah.
All right. So
okay, yeah, to add up.
Okay.
Can I come in?
Yes, please, you can come in.
Yes, you can.
Okay, so to add up, you realize that the measure can only be displayed by a card or visualization. But the columns, I hope you can hear me.
Oh, Rich,
yes,
please,
we can hear you.
Rich, please clarify that part for me. I think it is very sensitive and very, very important.
Yes, so like I was saying, the measure, you realize that it can only be viewed by using a visualization. Let's say the card, the KPIs, and those things to display. But the columns or the calculated columns can only be seen in the table, unless maybe when you want to visualize, then maybe if it's a bar chart, then you bring it. But when you go to the table columns, you won't see the measure. When you click on the measure, it won't appear in the table because it's not a column.
Okay.
So unless you visualize it with a card.
Can I surprise you on stuff?
Okay.
Can I surprise?
Yeah, do. I think after this, I have a question to ask.
No problem.
Okay.
Let me do this one. So, where is that? I don't know who saw what I did.
No, I didn't see it.
Okay, all right, good. So this is what I did. The first one, is the measure we calculated.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
The second one, this one, is the actual column.
Okay.
I picked the actual column and came and dropped it here.
Oh, okay.
And then converted here. When I dropped it, it was count.
Count.
So
Okay.
I got 12.
Okay.
So it counted the number of rows.
Okay.
Now, when I changed the aggregation and I made it sum.
Sum. Okay.
It gave me the same value.
Oh, I see.
Give me the same value
like the measure.
as the exactly.
Oh, I see.
So,
but I mean, when
you
go to the tables, you won't see the measure.
Yes, when you go to the table, you won't see the measure
because it's not a column.
Yes, yes, please. So, what Richard is saying, what it means is that, my question was to ask, Tim, when do I need to create a column, and when do I need to create a measure? And if I create a column, what am I expected to use it for? And if I create a measure, what am I expected to use it for?
Okay, good. Now, when do you need to create a column and when do you need to create a measure? It depends on what you are seeking for.
Okay.
It depends on the first thing is what do you want to achieve by creating this? Creating a measure or a column is it's just like if you're going to Accra. What is your email, or let's say we are all going to Accra from our various homes. What is your interest? You want to go to Accra? Yes. Do you want to go there fast? Do you want to go there? What is the essence of the outcome? What do you want to achieve? You want to achieve getting there fast, early, or you want to achieve being there at any time and start? These are things that we consider. For which reason, somebody might say, okay, I'm going to take Uber. I want to get there comfortably. My focus is making sure that I get there comfortably without any stress. So for which reason, somebody might want to take Uber. Another person might want to take public transport. Somebody might want to go with a motorbike. Right. So I can see that somebody's hand is up. I'll allow you. Let me just round up with my brief saying, right? I'll allow you. So now, with regards to the column, if you are doing, most importantly, if you are doing row-wise calculation, right? You want to get for every single row, it works perfectly with a column. It's another thing. Column affords you a bit of more flexibility, especially when you are working on the visualization side. Let me show you the difference. This first one, you have the sum underscore of underscore adjustment is a measure. And this sum of adjustment is a column, came from a column. Now with this, see, when I come to data pane, the visualization pane, and I want to do any modification, the only modification I can do is to change the name or the visuals. I have very, very limited options here. Have you noticed? Right? Have you noticed it? Okay, so now when I bring it to the column, you can see that I have a lot of options. Aside renaming the visual, I have sum, I have average, I have minimum, I have maximum, I have count, and all these things I can do them, get the variance. Now with the measure, if I want the variance, I still need to go back to DAX and then compute for variance. I don't know whether you guys are getting what I'm saying. Yeah. If I need to compute for variance, I still need to go back to DAX and compute for variance. You understand? But then we could use both interchangeably, depending on what you want to achieve. You could use both. And the one interesting thing about the calculated column is that the flexibility of seeing the data itself and observing the nature of data firsthand, even filtering the data in the table, you have that flexibility because it's a column. But with measure, you don't have that flexibility of filtering, and they think that's the advantage of column over measure. But then one great advantage of measure over column is that it eases the space in your Power BI, so that it doesn't have too much of pressure in loading. That's one key advantage.
Okay.
He was raising his hand. Please, you can ask so that.
Please, you can jump in. All right.
I think that was I think I saw Francis or something.
Yeah, Francis, if you are with us, please you can jump in and ask your question.
Yeah, okay. I think Pete Mapuchu has really explained it. So what I wanted to give as a scenario is, let's say in a marketing, or let's say in a company, the marketing department will be interested in details. So if you have a visual like a table, they would like to know the details of, let's say, their unit cost, unit material, or etc., etc. So they will be interested in the calculated column, because once you drop a visual like table, you're able to pull them and have it aligned or whatever displayed. But if you use, a normal column, but if you use a calculated measure, that will be for the stakeholders' interest.
Exactly.
The MD will be interested in you, he or she seeing just the number drop, let's say my GM percentage like this. But a marketing person will be interested in knowing what entails or what gave you your GM percent. So in that sense, you use the calculated measure for the stakeholder, let's say MD, and use, let's say, the details in the visual like a table for the marketing or the sales person. So so if you know your target audience, you know which measure to use. You can use them at the same time.
Okay, Ima, you come in. All right. So Francis, continue.
Yeah, so you can use them like Peter did. You can create all of them at the same time. But when to visualize, you have to determine depending on your target audience. Right? But if you have as many measures in terms of calculated measures, it actually helps you to write codes faster than column. You get it?
Exactly.
All right.
That's true.
That's very fantastic. Yeah.
I love that. There is something that I share in our project for. There were things that I